The Tsukuba International Center of JICA, which stands for the Japan International Cooperation Agency, is located in Tsukuba Science City, a city that coexists in harmony with nature. JICA provides training courses for participants from other countries as part of its assistance to developing countries. The Tsukuba International Center provides training mainly on agriculture, rural development, and related science and technology. The Tsukuba International Center accepts about 1,000 participants from around 100 countries each year as part of its training program. The Tsukuba International Center also works closely with the local people in various activities. Participants therefore enjoy exposure to Japanese traditions and culture and get to know local Japanese families. We have many technical training courses, and today we are going to explain in an easy-to-understand way how to make compost and bokashi. When you grow field crops, you need to supply them with nutrients necessary for their growth. Fertilizers are categorized into chemical fertilizers, which are chemically produced and blended, and organic fertilizers made from organic matters. Organic fertilizers are mainly made of livestock waste, such as chicken manure or cattle feces, crop residues, rapeseed meal, fish meal, or rice bran. Compost and bokashi are traditional organic fertilizers in Japan and have been effectively used to create environmentally friendly soil. They are also an essential part of the farming practice that makes an effective use of organic matters and sustains agriculture. Let's learn the characteristics of compost and bokashi. Compost is made from rice straw, wheat straw, or tree leaves through sufficient fermentation and decomposition. But rice straw, for instance, has a high carbon-nitrogen ratio of about 70, which does not easily promote fermentation by microbes. Therefore, we sometimes have to add nitrogen by mixing in chemical fertilizers or livestock waste. Compost has the following good points. 1. It improves the biological properties of soil. It creates a growth environment for a variety of soil flora, including fungi, earthworm, and galleyworm. 2. It improves the physical properties of soil. The actions of soil creatures form an aggregate structure in the soil to improve ventilation, water permeability, and water retention. 3. It improves the chemical properties of soil. It improves soil pH and the cation exchange capacity and supplies macro and micronutrients in a balanced manner. 4. It works slowly. Fertilizer components in chemical fertilizers are mainly composed of inorganic nutrients that are easily dissolved in water. This is why fertilizer elements can be absorbed quickly to crops. But at the same time, there is a high possibility of loss of nutrients as a result of percolation. In contrast, the fertilizer components in compost are mainly composed of organic nutrients, which are gradually decomposed and mineralized into an inorganic nutrient and absorbed by crops. As a result, compost doesn't work quickly. Also, it loses less nutrients and causes less environmental pollution. Because of these effects, compost can promote healthy growth of crops and mitigate the damage caused by disease incidences and transplant shock. Bokashi is a traditional organic fertilizer made of rapeseed meal, fish meal, chicken manure, and other organic materials rich in plant nutrients by mixing, fermenting, and decomposing those ingredients. Now, let me show you the components of chemical fertilizer, bokashi, and compost. Bokashi works in a manner similar to compost, but is richer in such components as nitrogen and phosphorus, which are easily absorbed by crops. In addition, these components work quicker. In other words, bokashi is a type of fertilizer that lies between chemical fertilizers and compost. Now, let's try making quick compost using rice straw and chemical fertilizers. We are going to use about 100 kilograms of rice straw and 2 kilograms of calcium cyanamide. Pour 40 to 50 liters of water over the rice straw a day in advance. Chop the rice straw to about 10 centimeter pieces to make them easier to handle. Compost making needs to be done in a place where no water collects. Here we pack a squared wooden crate with cut rice straw. If there is no wooden crate around, you can do the same by just piling up straw in an open space. Once rice straw has been piled up to a certain height, stomp it hard with your feet. Give it a good stomping, particularly to the four corners. After stomping well, spread water over it. It is necessary to provide an environment where microbes find it easy to establish in order to promote fermentation and decomposition of the materials. Sprinkle calcium cyanamide evenly over the straw. Microbes become active when the carbon-nitrogen ratio is about 35. But the base material used here, or rice straw, has a carbon-nitrogen ratio of about 70, which does not easily promote fermentation by microbes. Therefore, you need to additionally supply nitrogen. We use calcium cyanamide as additional nitrogen content, but urea or ammonium sulfate will also do. Pile up rice straw on the nitrogen fertilizer. Rice straw, water, and nitrogen fertilizer. Make these as a cycle and repeat the cycle. After the second cycle, lift up the wooden crate and carry out 2 more cycles. Every 2 cycles, move the wooden crate upward, add water and nitrogen fertilizer, and put straw on it. The water content should be about 50 to 60%. For a very rough guideline, add water until you squeeze the rice straw with your hand and water drips down. Be careful not to make it too damp or there won't be aerobic decomposition. When you lift up the wooden crate 4 times, the height of the rice straw goes up to about 1 meter. Then, cover the pile completely with vinyl sheets in order to prevent evaporation and the influence from rainfall on the pile of straw. Place weights on the edges of the sheets and firmly tie them with ropes to prevent the sheets from being blown away by wind. This time, we use rice straw for raw material, but you can use various crop residues such as wheat or corn straw or tree leaves as main ingredients. It was 26.9 degrees Celsius inside the rice straw immediately after it was piled up. As fermentation continues, the temperature inside the heap will rise. It was 48.8 degrees on the following day. Although the temperature varies depending on the season, in our demonstration this time, the temperature exceeded 60 degrees in about a week. After a short time, the temperature begins to decrease and remained constant thereafter. In this demonstration, the temperature was 55.9 degrees in 2 weeks and 46.4 degrees in about 3 weeks. When you don't have a thermometer around, you can just insert a wooden bar as shown in the photo, feel the bar with your hand, and notice the temperature change. When the temperature is shifted low and consistent, turn over the compost. First, remove the vinyl sheets. Use a pitchfork and move the straw from the top bit by bit to the wooden crate on the side. Although the color of the surface didn't change, the inside had turned black, which means fermentation and decomposition are ongoing. When you do a turnover, pile up the straw around the parts where the color hadn't changed, that is, where decomposition has not occurred. After some straw has been moved, sprinkle the nitrogen fertilizer in about half the quantity sprinkled during the first time and add water. For the amount of water to add, when you get a handful of straw and close your fists firm, and if water drips from the fists, that's about the right amount. While giving the appropriate amount of nitrogen fertilizer and water from time to time, turn over and pile up all the compost onto the wooden crate. After turning over the compost, the fermentation process restarts and the internal temperature goes up. When the temperature becomes consistent, turn the straw over again. After turning over several times, the temperature rise stops. The rice straw is then black and crumbles as you scoop it with a pitchfork. That's when fermentation is complete. We did a total of 3 turnover until the straw turned into this condition. We completed the full process of quick compost making in about 3 months. Next, let's make bokashi. You can use various organic matters available where you are to make bokashi. We make bokashi in a place that is protected from rain so as to prevent the nutrient from being drained off. Today, we are going to use chicken manure, fish meal, and rapeseed meal as the main ingredients to make bokashi fertilizer. For these 3 ingredients, we've got commercial products that are already pulverized and dried. Here we have 20 kilograms of each, a total of 60 kilograms. The main agent to decompose and ferment those ingredients is microbes. You may use microbes found in the humus in the woods or commercially available effective microorganisms. These microbes are called spawn. If you provide some nutrition, such as rice bran, the spawn becomes more active. Today, we've got some soil, which is about 1/3 of the main ingredients in weight. This is to facilitate the bokashi material after fermentation. Use subsoil to prevent contamination by unnecessary bacteria. Evenly sprinkle the rice bran mixed with the spawn over the main ingredients and the soil. You don't necessarily need to add the spawn. If the condition is right, contaminated microbes will promote fermentation, and that allows you to make bokashi without adding the spawn. Use a scoop to stir them up for uniform mixture. When you find big chunks, crush them into pieces. When the ingredients are well mixed, make a small dent at the center of the mound and pour water in the dent. Add water in the quantity about 50% of the main ingredients. When the right amount of water is added, the ingredients become a chunk, like a dumpling. When you grab some in your hand and when you poke it with your finger, it will easily crumble. To make this happen, don't put water in one pour. Add water in 3 to 4 pours, and for every pour, stir it up with the ingredients and check the condition of moisture of the ingredients before giving the next pour. When the ingredients are fully ready, put straw over them to cause fermentation. Straw can prevent evaporation and, in cold times, prevent reduction of fermentation temperature. It generally takes about a week to make the bokashi fertilizer, although it slightly varies depending on the season or material. It takes less time to make bokashi compared to compost, but the temperature control during the fermentation stage is more important for bokashi. This shows the condition of the second day from the initiation of fermentation. As you can see, when fermentation is smoothly underway, white mold adheres on the surface. Now the temperature is 61.1 degrees Celsius. For your information, the temperature at the beginning of fermentation was 25.7 degrees. When the temperature rises, turn the mound over at about 50 degrees as a rough guide and cool it down. When you have turned them over, be sure to check the temperature. Now it's down to about 48 degrees. When the temperature is low, put the straw over it again to restart fermentation. As the temperature goes up to about 60 degrees, turn it over to lower the temperature. It is important to repeat these steps meticulously. When fermentation has peaked and the temperature begins to drop from 60 degrees, remove the straw to cut down the mound and spread the area to stop the fermentation. The process of bokashi making completes as the temperature in the mound falls. Next, let me explain how to apply compost and bokashi. First, how to apply compost. Spread the compost evenly over the field tilled by a tractor. Plow to turn over the soil covered by the compost. Another way is to excavate a ditch in an already prepared planting bed and apply the compost. Next, bokashi. Dig a ditch in the field where you plant crops. Apply bokashi in the ditch. Then put soil over the ditch. The depth from the ground surface to the surface of bokashi spread in the ditch should be about 10 centimeters. For both compost and bokashi, we plant the seedlings about a week after the application. Fertilization with compost or bokashi has many advantages such as improvement of biological, physical, or chemical properties of soil and slow but effective supply of nutrients. If you continue it, the positive effects will be further enhanced. But as shown in the table, the nutrient components in compost or bokashi is less than that of a typical chemical fertilizer. Particularly for compost, nutrient components are gradually released and absorbed by crops, and if you want to secure the production on the first crop cultivation, you will have to provide additional fertilizer of another kind. It is important to apply fertilizers that are appropriate for the crop that you are growing. How did the participants who learned about compost and bokashi feel about the training?
So this type of method of compost making is not frequently using in my country among the farmers. So if we can introduce this method to our farmers to develop soil fertility, it is very easy procedure and it will useful for develop soil fertility, physical property and group crop production.
With compost and bokashi, we can make effective use of organic materials relatively easily available in our surroundings for agricultural production. They are also very effective in excellent maintenance of the soil, which is essential for sustainable agricultural production. Please master the techniques of compost and bokashi and use them effectively.